Well, I was Director of Communications in the Office of the Secretary-General, which was a sort of more or less ad hoc position, so I was not the head of a department or anything like that. It was added to my responsibilities as Chief Speechwriter for the Secretary-General, and I think the idea was to have someone who could advise him personally on communications issues and occasionally do a bit of spinning, talking, as it were, on my own authority, sometimes on background, sometimes on the record, explaining, what the Secretary-General was trying to do, but perhaps in a way that would not have been so easy for his official spokesman. Well, I think the first qualification is curiosity. You're getting much better able to communicate if you are yourself excited and enthusiastic and you're learning. You should never be just communicating, you should always be learning at the same time. And then, of course, you need to be articulate, clear. If you're writing, you need to use short sentences with words that people can easily understand, not jargon, not too many acronyms, and so on. Not rocket science, really. I think all organisations, all big organisations anyway, develop a large number of acronyms, and it's simply a kind of internal shorthand. But what you have always to remember is, if you're addressing the outside world, that the people you're talking to may not be privy to this internal shorthand, and you've got to make it intelligible for them. I think you need to you need a good ear. You need always to be, as it were, reading yourself and hearing yourself and putting yourself in the position of the reader or listener. Yes, this was a very interesting assignment that I was given last year by the BBC Trust. It's an annual exercise they do in reviewing the impartiality and accuracy of BBC News, and they choose a different topic each year, and last year they chose the Arab Spring, I think, as an example of conflict, which of course is one of the more difficult things that a big news organisation has to cover. And so I spent a lot of time watching and listening to the BBC product and looking at their website, which actually is one of their best products. And I came to the conclusion that generally their coverage was pretty good on what they did, but that there was quite a lot that got left out. I'm talking about what they report to the domestic audience in the UK. My remit did not cover World Service Radio or the foreign language services, although it did cover actually the BBC World Television. But I was thinking mainly about the domestic audience in the UK and what it was learning about the Middle East. And I found they had a tendency to send reporters from all the different programmes to the same place at the same time. Tahrir Square in late January and early February of 2011, Tripoli in late August of 2011. And I think for an organisation that has resources the size of the BBC, that is maybe a bit of a shame, because they have the capacity to cover many more topics, and the Arab Spring, if that's the right name for it, was something that was going on in many different countries at once, and I think it would have been good for the BBC viewers and listeners to have more of a picture of what was happening, for example, in Saudi Arabia, or even in Egypt, in the middle months of 2011, when Libya became a much more dramatic story and Egypt got a bit lost sight of, that kind of thing. Well, of course, I think in any revolutionary movement or major political upheaval, young people usually play an important part. And maybe one of the reasons why this happened in the Middle East at that time was that there were a large number of well-educated young people, but who didn't have immediate employment opportunities, but many of whom were very savvy in using the techniques of modern communications, the iPhones and the Facebook and so on, and that I think they were often just ahead of the people in power who didn't know how to deal with this new kind of movement. My message is, don't give up hope of the United Nations, don't have exaggerated expectations, but think what you can do to make it work better to serve all the peoples of the world.